Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today here at Friendship Shaving for what I hope will be a very interesting video. I was informed before Christmas by YouTube that my most popular video is a comparison between an old Gillette and the new Gillette Fusion Pro Glide Styler. And that prompted me to look into the development of cartridge razors. I found it really interesting, so I thought I would share some of that information with you while shaving with my Schick Injector razor from the late 60s, early 70s. I've actually just split the metal on here. I don't know if you can see just there. I used my supply company key, and I think the key is a little bit wider than the standard Schick key, and it just split the metal, but I have managed to get a blade in there. This was new old stock when I got it, and I've hardly used it, so I'm a bit annoyed about that. I'll have to look out for another one. I would really like a Schick Injector adjustable. I have to look out for one of those. Anyway, I digress. I've got my little Byron Shaving Company rubber brush, and I've got some soap on there, and the soap today is my Pall Mall shaving soap by Phoenix and Beau. I'm using this today because I will, during this video, mention Wilkinson's sword, and of course they were based in Pall Mall Street, London for a long time, and one of their first razors was the Pall Mall razor. So we shall use that today. A very nice scented soap. I've already got my Proraso White Pre-Shave on my face. I have a brand new jar here. So I'm ready to go, and in talking about the development of what we now call a cartridge razor, I'm first going to start by talking about a stainless steel razor blade for a double-edged safety razor. So I think that's where it all starts. And Wilkinson's sword are commonly attributed with being the first company to bring out a stainless steel razor blade. Well, that isn't quite the full story. Gillette brought out a stainless steel razor blade in the 1920s, the Crowman razor blade, but unfortunately it wasn't very good at all and had to be recalled. But it was a company called Osberg House in Germany. They produced the Fasan razor in the 1930s, and they brought out a stainless steel razor blade as well. Now I don't know how successful that was, but in 1955 or 56 they went into partnership with Wilkinson's sword, and in 1962 they became Wilkinson's sword GmbH, which is a German way of saying a limited liability company. So they became Wilkinson's sword essentially. And they brought out the first, let's say, comfortable stainless steel safety razor blade. I think the key is comfortable. Now, sometime in the late 50s, Gillette patented their production of a stainless steel razor blade, but they decided just to sit on it. They didn't go with it. They decided that the area they wanted to focus on was coating the blades. So Wilkinson's sword just beat them to it in terms of that stainless steel razor blade. But soon after, in 1962, the same year, Gillette caught up and bought out their own stainless steel razor blade. And then, of course, in 1965, they brought out their super stainless blade, which is known as the spoiler, and in an attempt to get back some of that trade from Wilkinson's sword. And it is around that time, the mid-60s, that Gillette were already looking into a two-blade razor. And in the Reading factory in England in 1964, there was a new employee called Norman Welsh, and he was investigating using two blades, and he discovered what he called is the hysteresis effect. That effect where when blades are placed quite close together, the first blade cuts but doesn't quite cut all the way through and pulls the hair, and the second blade comes along and cuts it. And it was discovered, to my surprise, as early as the mid-60s. Now, they were working on two razors, the Atra and I think that is how it is pronounced, and the Rex. And the Atra used two blades, but the sharp edge of the blade faced the sharp edge of the other blade, so you would have to shave downwards and shave upwards to get that double blade effect. And apparently they had the most success with this. But the Gillette marketing executives were rather concerned that this would be rejected by the general public and wouldn't bring the sales that they were looking for. So they rejected that entirely and started work on the Rex, which eventually became the Track 2 razor in 1971, and meant that Gillette were the first company to successfully bring out a twin blade razor that then developed into the razors we're used to today. And the reason that I'm using my Schick Injector is because the design of this from the late 60s, early 70s puts me in mind of those early twin blade razors with the long, lighter plastic handle and the blades slightly offset from that. And of course, once Gillette brought out the Track 2, they also brought out the Twin Injector blade, a twin blade for the Injector razor. And that was very popular. In 1976, I believe, it was still being advertised by Telly Savalas, who was starred as Kojak on the TV way back in the day, as well as many films. So very successful. Now Wilkinson Sword, as far back as 1962, were working on what they called a bonded blade. It was released in Germany as the System T70. It looks to be some kind of plastic from the advertisement I've seen, and I'll put all the links below so that you can have a look through. A very futuristic looking razor for 1962. And it had one razor blade, much like the blade in here or the blade in a cartridge razor that we see today, but set into a piece of plastic or rubber or something like that that would slide into the razor. So that was going as far back as 62, but in bringing out the twin blade razor, Gillette just pipped Wilkinson Sword as they were bringing out their twin bladed bonded razor. So it seems at that time there was quite a lot of stiff competition between Gillette or Wilkinson Sword, and maybe with Schick bringing up third place. I found this absolutely fascinating this week. And if you look at those old Track 2 advertisements, you know, they state that the second blade reduces the number of strokes needed and reduces irritation. I mean, it sounds good, doesn't it? There is a certain logic to that two-blade system that no doubt appeal to the general public. You know, if two blades must be better than one blade, and if two blades are better than one blade, then three blades must surely be better than two blades. And so we go on, and I wonder at what point that logic fails. At what point does having those extra blades just become pointless or damaging? To your skin? And there is a school of thought that says 2 or perhaps 3 blades are the optimum. Of course, you may think differently if you are a cartridge razor user. When I left school in 79 and sort of first became interested in shaving, The only razors that I remember seeing at my local chemist at that time were the 2-blade razors, or I do remember seeing the twin injector blade packs for sale still. But yes, my first razor was a Wilkinson sword profile with the 2 blades, and the head much like the angle of this one. I bought a white one first of all, a white handle. Thought that was really cool. And then very shortly after, I discovered that they did a swivel head, and I thought that would be better, so I bought one of those as well. But yeah, I've had a very interesting week looking into this, and obviously I'm just providing a little information today. Some of you, of course, will remember those original Gillette Track 2s, but we should remember that multiple blades in a razor was not a new thing in 1971. In the 1930s, that seemed to be a time of great innovation, and there were many multiple blade razors that were patented back then that didn't quite see it all the way through. I think they were just a little bit cumbersome, perhaps. Using a full-sized double-edged safety razor blade. And that Atra razor that I talked about, I mean, basically they never thought they would sell a razor that you had to shave like this. Can you imagine? How wild would that be? They just didn't think they would sell that to the general public, but of course Gillette reused that Atra name. I think in the UK it was called the Contour, and in other countries I think there was, I've written it down, I think there was a Vector and a Slalom. Which seems an odd thing, you know, but quite nice that they reused that name. But yes, that double blade was first brought about in Reading at the Gillette plant in the UK. Fascinating. And by 1969, Gillette have brought out their platinum stainless steel razor blade, but by that time they were selling off all their equipment to whoever would buy it, so India and Russia predominantly. And really, that was the start of the cartridge razor phase. Although in shaving we do seem to reinvent the wheel quite often, and wish when I first started shaving, with those 2-blade Wilkinson sword razors, that I'd had some nice soap and a nice brush. It would have been an entirely different experience for me, and I suspect many of you the same. Yeah, I have been looking out for one of those old Wilkinson sword profiles, just to revisit my first ever shave when I was a youngster. To be honest, I bought them before I ever needed to shave. I was just excited to try it. And with the white and red handles, that was a selling point for me. I wonder what I would have chosen if back then there was the choice between, something, a new cartridge style razor or the old. I wonder what I would have chosen. I'll never know, of course. But I've just been thinking about that this week. I'm sure there's a lot more information about the switch over to the cartridge system. Do you know, that is a very nice shave. This soap from Phoenix and Beau. I really like this one. Look at the cover on that, it's fantastic. Really slick soap. With my Schick razor, it is a mild shave. It's just caught me a little bit there, where it's not so mild as usual. And I wonder if that's because it's split slightly and the blade is not sitting quite where it usually does, or perhaps there's a difference between the supply company blade and the old Schick Ultra Platinum blade. I didn't use that one because I've got a blade and it's stuck in there. I can't get it out. So there we are. Now, just dry my face off again. I'm going to use some nice easy aftershave today. Just some Nivea for me. And I hope you've enjoyed my little chat about the history of cartridge razors today. And just to tell you, if I can get some of this out, there we go. Just to tell you, I've got a great shave next Friday. I'm easing back on the Monday shaves for a little while. They started off as a temporary thing and they seem to have just become regular. So I'm just going to ease back on those for a little bit. But next Friday, I've got a collaboration shave with Doug Warren from Shaving Down Under that I'm looking forward to very much. So I'll be using Australian products as much as I can, and I will be chatting about Doug's channel a little bit. Very much looking forward to that, so I hope you'll join me next Friday. And of course, don't forget, we will have the result of the Backroads Gold giveaway then. So please join me for that one. You still have time to enter that, but you'll have to look at the last video. Now that's my shave. Thanks very much for joining me. You take care. I'll see you around. Bye bye now.